First of all, thanks, Matt, and thank you to the entire VIcom and iSoft team for having us here today. I know it's early. I don't know about you, but I didn't get to finish my coffee, but I wanted to start off with a little video that I think is kind of relevant, and I think we've all been in this situation. And this video has actually been viewed almost 9 million times on YouTube. And I think some of you may have seen it, but if you haven't, I think afterwards you'll understand why. It's only about 4 minutes, but it's pretty funny.
Trick Crosby has joined the meeting. Beth has joined the meeting.
Hello?
Tyler?
No, this is Beth from ICS.
Oh, hey, Beth. How are you doing?
Oh, good. Yeah. Just making it.
Tyler?
Has joined the meeting.
All right, well, this is Tripp. Who's here? Tyler's here.
Beth's here.
Okay, the purpose of today's meeting is to discuss the...
Yeah, I'll be able to do it in like 30 minutes. John?
Has joined the meeting.
Hi, John. I was just trying to go over the purpose of today's meeting, which is to discuss the deliver... Tyler?
Has joined the meeting.
Sorry, guys, I got cut off. Is Paul here? Send him an invite.
Put in your access code.
No, that's your PIN number.
It should be a 9-digit number.
Oh, no, don't do that. Come on. Yeah, that happens too, right? And the funniest part is it's still yet to come. But it appears like I think everyone's probably on the same network. Everyone logged on to the VIcom network at once. Anyways, so, at the risk of wasting everybody's time this morning, I find that funny, and if you get a chance, go back on YouTube and watch the rest of it. We've all been in those situations, but I think the funny part is the dichotomy between pretending that you're on these conference calls when you're actually sitting in the same room, not knowing who's on the call, people coming in and out. There's actually one part where the guy's standing outside the room, just chatting away. He doesn't realize he's been disconnected, right? I think we've all been there. Or a guy talking and he's on mute, and he's like, oh, wait, I'm on mute. Right? So, just a little something to break the ice in the morning, but it really kind of shows some of the limitations in the, in that sort of voice-only world, right? So I'm going to give you just a really quick quiz, and it's really just a raise of hands. You don't really actually have to say anything, but there we go. Come on now. Good morning. Wake up. Oh. So how many of you use a tablet or some sort of mobile device at work? Pretty much everyone, right? How many of you use work productivity apps on that device? Okay, it's pretty significant amount. Do you have kids or grandkids between the ages of 3 and 18, or let's just say 22, right? How do you communicate with them? Do you use FaceTime? Or Skype? Or text? If you have kids in college, do they want to Skype or FaceTime with you to stay connected?
No, they don't want to talk to us.
No, they don't. They will text you. You're spot on. They don't want to talk to you. They will send you a text. Or they want to talk to you using some sort of video chat, like Facebook or Skype or FaceTime or any of those. How many here travel for work? About half. How many here would like the option to telework or have employees that have asked for telework? Yeah, that's, I think, pretty much everyone, right? How many of you are tired of conference calls? That would be me. This has to be easier, right? Right? It really does have to be easier. We're in a world that's changing rapidly. And one of the things you'll notice about this quiz is I'm asking you these questions because it's all about you. Because the user, the consumerization of IT is driving change in business. It used to be you came to work, you sat down at your desk, and you had your, your computer, your 286, 386, 486. I'm dating myself, sorry guys. And then you got up, packed up your stuff, and went home. Well, now you bring your laptop, docking station, you undock it, you take it home with you. You bring your tablet. You use productivity apps on it. You might use it in the workplace. Some people I see show up with tablets and the little keyboard and the whole setup. You use your iPhone because it might have some different productivity apps on it. Those are personal devices, right? Laptops may be a corporate asset, but let's be honest. I use mine for Facebook. Has 1 million pictures of my kids on it, right? So that driving that change is really about us, people driving that change. So we are dictating technology, purchases, procurement, needs in the workplace like never before. It used to be IT would be like, hey guys, guess what? We're using Oracle. And I've seen this happen before where a company will be using one sort of system, let's just say Salesforce for CRM. They get bought by another company that uses Oracle. And what happens? It's like open revolt. Because that's what they're used to, it's what they use, it's what they know, it's what they want, right? So because we use and consume so much technology at home and in our personal lives, we want to have that same experience in the workplace, right? We want to be able to download and use apps, and we don't want to have to call IT every time we need something done, right? So we, as end users, as consumers, are driving change in business IT. And I find this a fascinating quote. They don't want computers. They want to relate, share, communicate, enjoy, learn, discover, analyze, and create. I'm of a generation where you were a PC person or you're a Mac person, right? We were like technology religion. You were either Steve Jobs or you weren't, right? There was just that technology religion. This next generation, they're technology agnostic. It's not about the device, it's about the apps. It's about apps working the same on every device and being able to download and modify and make it personalized. So we're at a sort of tipping point, especially as that next generation workforce comes into the workplace, right? Because they've been using computers since they were toddlers. And they've been using tablets in some cases for as long as I have. When I try and explain to my 11-year-old that there used to not be an internet, her mind is blown, like completely. When I explained to her I was 23 before I had my first cell phone, she's like, well, how did you talk to people? And I was like, I used the home phone. What? We used pay phones. What's a pay phone? It's a completely different world than it was even a decade ago. It's no longer about what you use, it's what's on that device and how it works, and that it should work the same on every device. And increasingly, like I said before, that there's blurring lines between home and work. You take your work home. How many of us have worked at home? Not that's like because you have a telework program, but because you had to get work done that you couldn't get done in the office, right? I think everybody has. Done a PowerPoint, answered emails from your phone. Unless you're in a highly secure environment, you're probably doing work from home, right? Those lines are blurring. It's no longer where you work, it's what you do. Because so many people are mobile, and because those lines are being blurred. Again, it's about the user and what they want, right? Just because you go to the office doesn't necessarily make you more productive. I find some days I'm more productive in the office, and some days I'm less productive in the office. Some days I'm more productive at home, some days I'm less productive at home. But ultimately, I have to recognize and I make those choices to say, today I need to go in because I have, to do these kinds of tasks which require me to be in the office, which makes me more productive. And then there's days where I'm on conference calls all day long and I might as well sit at home and throw in a load of laundry on my way down the hall to get a cup of coffee. But ultimately, I am not able to do that without being able to connect to the people I work with. You know, it's funny, when I was mentioning earlier about teenagers and kids, they text or they do video or whatever, FaceTime. I, as a Cisco collaboration user, I tend to text or chat, which is, chat is the same thing as text, it's just on your computer. iMessage, if you have a Mac, same thing, right? Or I use video. I use like the least rich form of communication and the richest form of communication. Anywhere in between, I'm like, nah, no thanks. But without the ability to connect back to my peers, both in that really quick, hey, I just have a quick question, or in a visual manner, I'm really not productive, right? At the end of the day, we're human beings. It is in our DNA to see and be seen. That's why that conference call video is so funny, because we're not comfortable not being able to see the people we're interacting with, right? 60% of human communication is nonverbal. 60%. It's pretty huge. I'll tell you a little story about me. So I came to Cisco from Tandberg. How many here remember Tandberg or familiar with Tandberg? So when I started, I was in the marketing department, and my peer was in Sacramento, California. I talked to her every day on video for 2 years. I saw her in person twice, like in the flesh twice. I was invited to her wedding. Do you know why that is? Because we had that human connection to see and be seen. We knew who each other were. We had trust. How many times have you gotten off of a conference call and been like, I have no idea what went on? Perot Systems, like many companies in the early 2000s, outsourced a significant portion of their development to India. And to cut costs and for a variety of reasons, they could get a better variety of developers, et cetera. But what they were finding is they would get on these conference calls and explain what needed to be done, and then when the deliverable was sent over, it wasn't even remotely close what they explained. And so they were flying back and forth to India like 4 times a year.
Pressing the pound key.
Whoops. Oh, now it's going to start again. Lovely. Let's go ahead and just stop that for 1 second.
Yes, this is Beth.
Or not. There we are. Try again. Yeah, I love technology. So they were trying, it's 4 times a year. That's quite a few trips to India. And what they discovered is the Indians are active listeners. And by an active listener, the Norwegians are the same way. You'll be talking to them and they'll go, And it wasn't, yes, I understand. It's, yes, I hear you. So what they decided to do is to try video. So they put a system in India and they put a system in Texas. And what they were discovering is they started picking up on the body language, where they could see the active listening, but they could also see the confusion and see them looking at each other going, do you understand what he's saying? And in a year, they saved $1 million in travel costs and $1 million in development and man hours, because they were able to recognize when people didn't understand. If I was doing this just voice, I wouldn't be able to see you guys and make that connection, the eye contact, and see you nodding and see you raising your hand. And there's something about that that is innate to us as human beings, that ability to connect. And it does make us more productive. I'm going to put you on the spot, Matt. For those of you that are VIcom or iSoft customers, if Matt picked up the phone and called you and said, hey, I want to sell you stuff. Meh. But if he came and saw you, and you met face to face, and you built that relationship, it would be different, right? You buy from people you know. You work with people, you work well with people that you understand. So again, it's back to that inherent need for us as human beings to connect visually. It makes us better workers. It helps us build trust between coworkers. It helps us recognize when we're not being understood. And it also helps us just sort of become a more cohesive organization, especially if you're dealing with people that are all over the country, all over the world. So these are some interesting facts for you. 60% collaborate with at least 10 people in their day-to-day work. This is this is a survey. I don't even know where it's from. 80% report that their workloads have increased over the last 3 years. I can say that. There used to be 5 of me, and now there's me. I call it the Susan Show. 2/3 do more collaborative work than they did 3 years ago. So we are undergoing a transformation in the workplace that has to do with the amount of tasks that we're asked to do and the amount of people that we are asked to collaborate with. Some forms of media, like the conference call, and we sell WebEx. That was kind of a dig at WebEx. I get it. What's your 9-digit code? What's your 4-digit code? But there are limitations to just that voice-only experience. I used to call WebEx mute and walk away because you get people mute, throwing a load of laundry. When you add video to that, you can't really get away with that stuff. You kind of have to be engaged. Unless you're a super user like I am, you're doing it for 9 years and you eat your food and your kids walk in and you're doing a million other things. But even so, if you're in a big meeting, you can't do that stuff. If you're in an actual face-to-face meeting, could you get up, walk off in the middle when someone's presenting? No. Conference calls, you can kind of do that stuff. You're not supposed to, but I think we've all done it, right? You kind of lose, when it's just an audio, you kind of lose it. Oh, flexibility. This goes back to our telework discussion, right? 40% of the workforce will be mobile. How many here have seen your organization reduce their actual physical footprint from a real estate perspective? Kind of scaling down. Or they're changing how that real estate's used, making more like open spaces, collaborative work environments. You're seeing this some in the classroom too, right? So if you're an educator, I live in Northern Virginia, and one of our classrooms, they actually got rid of desks, and all the parents donated like old comfy chairs and couches and stuff. And the kids actually perform better on standardized tests in that classroom than their peers. Why? I don't know. But there was something about that environment that made them better learners, which I think is interesting. 40% of video users use 3 or more devices for video. That would be me. So I use my laptop. I can use my tablet. I have a desktop system. Personally, I have a Mac, an iPhone, and an iPad. I can use all 3 for FaceTime. So that would be me. Or actually my 11-year-old also. And 94% of business leaders say cloud collaboration enables flexible work environments. And now cloud, I'm so tired of cloud. I don't know about you guys, I'm really tired of hearing about it. It was software as a service, at some point it was thin client back in the late 90s. But the reality of cloud is it does allow you to do that. Whether it's your own private cloud offering solutions to your mobile workforce in a data center, or you're buying what we call buy the SIP from a provider, it does allow you to turn on and turn off users very quickly, especially as your mobile workforce increases. So what does all this mean? What does all this mean to Cisco? Right? Well, it means a couple of things. We have taken a completely different approach to building collaboration solutions for our customers and for our partners to take to market. Experience-centric. How many people have used applications that were designed by database administrators? Every single person in this room should raise your hand, because You get these it's all data sets. You're like, oh my God, what is this? Your brain hurts. You don't know what they're asking for. It's the worst, user interface. It's because they think in data sets, different world than where we sit. And what Cisco had done for years is we're very IT engineering driven organization. So sort of that IT engineering hat was brought to the user. Not anymore. How many people here are familiar with the Agile development cycle? You know what Agile is? So Agile is based around use cases. So it's a software development methodology where it's based on where the user sits and what the user experiences and what the user is going to do with that tool. So we have implemented Agile for the development of all of our collaboration technologies because at the end of the day, it's about you. And if you don't use it, it won't work for you, right? You have to want to use it. I mean, we've all had technologies rolled out that are like, oh, it's terrible. How am I supposed to use this? It's impossible to use. It doesn't make any sense. Then you're not going to use it, right? This isn't the field of dreams. It's not if you build it, they will come. It has to make sense for you. So that totally experience-centric approach is radically different than anything we've done before. Bless you. And that is huge. Cloud connected, I mean, going back to whether it's your own cloud or someone else's cloud, moving that workload off-site and allowing you to connect both inside and outside your organizations with vendors and suppliers. We're seeing in education a lot of universities sharing resources, and they may be on their own networks. How are they doing that? How are they connecting? Is it through internet too? Are they doing it off net? How's that working? And then value extended, and this basically goes to that whole notion of agnostic, device agnostic. You can put the software on any device. And we've also reduced our costs because we want to make it easier for you to deploy our solutions affordably and in a manner that makes sense. It's not a one-size-fits-all, right? Some pieces of the technology solution work for certain applications, others do not. It really depends on what you need, right? We're not trying to sell you the world. And trust me, I'd love to sell you the world, and I'm sure Matt would love to sell you the world too. But if it doesn't make sense for your organization and it doesn't meet your business need, then you're not going to be happy with him or me, right? So it really is about what are you trying to accomplish and how you can do that in a way that extends value around the organization. So again, it was a technology centric approach to collaboration. Now it's a user-centric approach to collaboration. Again, not the field of dreams. The baseball players aren't going to walk out of the cornfield, start sitting down at computers and using stuff just because we decide it should be that way. It has to make sense. It has to be usable. It has to be easy to use. And we believe that that ease of use and that user interface and that user experience has to extend from, where'd my phone go? Oh, well. From the mobile device all the way to the boardroom. Connecting the same look and feel, the same capabilities as much as possible. Obviously, there's going to be some differentiation between the mobile and something like a large conference room. But really, it's about that experience. How many? So I like to talk about. This is kind of a ridiculous story, but I used to work for Fairfax County Public Schools, and I did the book order every year for Marshall High School. And they changed the form one year. And 90% of the forms I got back from that year were wrong. Because it was a different experience than the teachers had ever had before. So it's the same with technology. If you were to walk into a conference room like this, in your workplace, and you're trying to connect, and it gets frustrating. We have a limitation of what we can handle when technology is not working, right? How many of us have wanted to throw our computers out the window? Daily. If it doesn't work right, it's frustrating, it's a bad experience, you won't use it. And it has to be consistent. And it has to be easy, right? So from the browser to the boardroom, that user takes precedence over anything else. and going back, again, on every pane of glass. We just want to get stuff done, right? Everyone just wants to get their work done. How many have had that lingering project that just sits in your inbox for months and you just kind of push it down and pretend it doesn't go away? Yeah, we just want to get things done, right? Everybody just wants to, whether it's home or person or work, we all just want to get things done. And we want to be able to do it regardless of where people are around the world. You know, if your engineer or your business partner is on the other side of the world and you've got a major crisis on your hands, so the conference call sometimes isn't going to cut it. Sometimes you have to share media. Sometimes you need to actually see and be seen, right? How do you do that? So from a Cisco perspective, we kind of break down our total solution into 4 primary buckets, which is unified communications, and we call that voice. Customer collaboration, which makes me laugh, it's contact center. Does everyone know what contact center is? Right? It's call centers, right? It does call routing and all that fun stuff. Conferencing, that would be our WebEx portfolio, and then collaboration endpoints, which are, you know, video conferencing units, some of our video-enabled phone units, and then the software then that goes on our device. So how do we build business value for you using our technology? Well, we're going to go just through a couple of real quick example. Enable mobile workers in BYOD, locate and access remote experts, and collaborate with external organizations. You know, flexible work options. Everybody raise their hands. They want to be able to telework or have been asked to telework. It's nice. I always use this as an opportunity to tell my story. I came to Cisco as part of the Tamberg acquisition. At the time the acquisition closed, I found out I was pregnant with my second child. And at the end of January of that year, I went on bed rest for 5.5 months. I don't know if any of you have been, you know, on disability or in the hospital or at home for a significant amount of time, but it sucks. It's really lame. I didn't wear shoes for weeks. You know, I didn't really get to leave the house. But I had my laptop, and I had video on my laptop, and I had WebEx, and I could chat with my peers and email, and I had voice, right? So I could talk to people. It mentally saved me because I still had that kind of water cooler feeling. At least I could stay connected to my organization. Organizationally, I still was so productive that I won an award for helping us when we migrated the Tamberg price list to the Cisco price list to make sure everything went on our GSA schedule and was TAA compliant. I actually won an award. And I was never in the office. 5.5 months, I didn't go, well, longer than that with maternity leave. 8.5 months, I didn't go in the office. For me, it was tremendous. And for the company, it turned out really good for them too. It was a win-win situation. I was still very productive, and I was still mentally engaged. It couldn't have actually happened at a better time, truth be told. But to be able to offer that to employees is not something everyone can do. And with the tools that Cisco creates for collaboration, you can. We've seen students who have, you know, debilitating diseases, cancers, et cetera, who really can't come into the classroom environment either because they're undergoing treatment or because they're medically fragile, being able to participate in classes over video, right? And connect with their peers. Because we're human beings. We're, you know, at the risk of sounding, you know, strange, we're pack animals, you know. We tend to have people that we interact with on a regular basis, whether it's spouses or children or family or friends. So for us to engage is important for us mentally and spiritually. So being able to do that in your work environment can have an impact in ways that we don't necessarily think about from a business perspective, right? So, but it actually ends up being a positive business outcome. And BYOD, you know, if I'd actually had a tablet at the time, this is kind of pre-tablet, I guess. Well, I guess they were around, but they didn't really, technology wasn't quite there yet, let's just be honest. You know, I would have taken my tablet with me everywhere. Doctor's offices, I spent a lot of time in the doctor's office. evenings, whatever. You do get tired of having a laptop in your lap. It gets a little hot, honestly, after a while. But 74% of organizations with user-centric BYOD strategies report improved employee productivity, right? And it's also less cost to them, right? You bring your own device, all they have to do is make sure it's on your network in a secure fashion, and they pay for it. It's a different environment. Locate and access remote experts. I love this. We talk about this in a contact center context, right? If you've got IT issues, or Amazon actually uses this. How many of you use the Amazon video chat with an expert online? Has anyone done that? You can. If you've got a shipping issue, or there's something wrong with your package or whatever, you can actually talk to somebody over video. But this is also interesting in judicial applications, right? So there's a lot of cost associated with flying in experts, depending on whatever field is, from wherever. Well, imagine just giving them access to a laptop and a video system and putting a screen in a courthouse. And we see this happen all the time. Actually, law firms and the judiciary were some of the earliest adopters of VTC and video conferencing and telepresence in the industry, because they would allow them to tap into remote experts from a variety of locations without the cost of shipping them back and forth. And in education, so in Arkansas, there is something called the Angels Network. In rural Arkansas, there's not a lot of specialists for at-risk pregnancies, right? Let's be honest, there's just not a ton of them. So they actually built this thing called the Angels Network, which is a network of clinics. It's sort of a spoke and hub environment where they actually have experts at a single location, and they do video diagnostic to a number of clinics around the state to provide prenatal care to help reduce infant mortality and other birth-related issues. So that being able to access that, pretty powerful stuff. Also in the U.S. Army, there's something called the TBI network, the Traumatic Brain Injury Network. A lot of our young men and women coming back from theater are coming back with traumatic brain injury. The sad fact of the matter is the symptoms of TBI can range from headaches to coma, and they can escalate very, very quickly. But there are very, very few experts out there in the diagnosis of this. And we recruit primarily from rural areas, but most of our major military medical hospitals and VA hospitals are in urban areas. So how do you treat these guys? Do you fly the doctors all over the country? Do you train more people? So what they decided to do is build this network to do, again, that hub and spoke, where they have the hub of experts. And then by proxy, it's train the trainer type, or they're basically training the people in the remote areas as they are delivering diagnostics and diagnostic treatment to the soldiers in the field. So pretty powerful stuff. And last but not least, collaborate with external organizations. When we were at Danberg, we actually wrote into every contract for any vendor that they had to buy a video system. Because that was how we communicated internally, and we felt it would build trust. Boeing actually has video systems on their manufacturing floor. So if there's a problem with one of their components, they actually call back to the manufacturer and show them in real time where the issues are with the components. Because I think it's 10 minutes of downtime on their manufacturing floor costs them $1 million. So components can't be flawed, right? They need to be accurate. So they communicate with their vendors and suppliers over video, because that way they can show them, instead they're taking a picture and taking it back to the laptop and then emailing it to the guy, and sometimes he gets it and sometimes he doesn't, and then he opens it and then you get on a conference call and you're trying to explain. They just go right on the manufacturing floor, and they have something called, used to be called the Field View Camera by LibreStream. and they can actually annotate on the back of the camera and do live video feeds. So pretty powerful stuff, right? So being able to communicate with external organizations, very, very important. In education, you see virtual field trips, right? NASA does them. Queens County Library does them. There's a million different organizations out there that do these virtual field trips that kids who may never ever see Cape Canaveral or the Great Barrier Reef will get an opportunity to do so and do so visually, not just in a textbook or by watching it on TV, actually interacting with the people who are there present. So why is that important? Well, again, it goes back to the very fundamental nature of who we are as human beings, to see and be seen, to be able to get the nods and get the understanding and gain the awareness of the other person, right? We crave that. That's what we are, that we're human beings. We want to be able to see each other, right? We want to be able to be understood. And by implementing technology in a way that makes sense for your organization, that understanding can actually have a business impact by accessing remote experts, by building collaborative teams, by allowing certain people in the organization to telework, or to make the choice, today I telework, today I go in. These can have a business impact. So the value of the entire portfolio is really about making it simple, again, user-focused, value-rich collaboration with simplicity. You know, again, what are you trying to accomplish? You know, it's not, hey, everyone gets desktop video. Why? What's the why? Not just because, right? Does that make, because unless you have that kind of money, I say go for it, right? If you got that kind of money, everybody gets video. But if there's no why, if there's no driver, it doesn't make sense. And start from where you are. Start small. Start with a single application. See how it goes. Do a pilot. What are you trying to accomplish? Again, it's about the people. It's not just about throwing technology at the wall and seeing what sticks. Because collaboration isn't about technology. It's about changing the way we work. Because we have changed the way we communicate at home with using technology, and how we collaborate at home using technology, and how children collaborate in education using technology. So invariably, that's going to also happen to us at work. But there's one thing here that's very important to touch on is culture. And I haven't really touched on it, really talked about the human aspect. But culturally, certain organizations are not, ooh, I don't want to see you. I don't have my makeup on today. I'm not ready to go. Not being comfortable being seen on video or whatever. It does take, again, this goes back to the use case. What are you trying to accomplish? Sometimes it takes an executive to step in and say, hey guys, let's do a pilot. And now every time we have this meeting, everybody needs to participate using a video client of some sort, either this WebEx, which is video enabled, or Jabber, which is video enabled, or maybe they have a video phone on their desk. Let's see how that goes. Changing the culture and seeing the impact. That's a very important element to all of this. Again, not the field of dreams, because we have seen this happen a million times, all of us. Someone throws a technology solution out there, and what happens? No one uses it, because nobody owns it, and it's different from what the culture has experienced in the past. So at the end of the day, collaboration is a journey. Not everybody's going to get there. Not everybody's going to be me, where if I get a phone call, my video system rings, my Jabber client rings, my cell phone rings, I want to tear my hair out. So really, what are you trying to accomplish? Do you see a business case for it in your organization? Does it make sense? Have you realized there's a deficiency in your organization that you could maybe overcome by being able to connect visually with others, either inside the organization or outside the organization? Sometimes you might have multiple reasons, right? Prioritize them. Design, use folks like iSoft and VIcom. This is what these guys do. I don't do this. This is not what I do. This is what they're great at, crafting solutions that make sense for your business. And they're here for you to do that. And then find somebody to own it, right? Because this isn't routers and switches, and this isn't data center. We're not making the network work better. We're talking about changing people and how people work. Very different. Very, very, very different. Because people, we are inherently, we don't like what? We don't like change. We don't like the way to change, you know. And there's pain involved of changing. There really is. But sometimes that initial pain has a lot of gain at the end. And at the end of the day, you got to make it simple, because that simplicity will drive innovation. It will drive change. Because if it ain't simple, no one's going to use it. So thank you.